The morning sun cast long shadows across the busy downtown street as Robert Harrison adjusted his navy suit jacket and checked his watch. At 42, he had built an empire from nothing, but had lost so much along the way. His daughter Emily skipped beside him, her golden curls bouncing with each step. The pink headband in her hair caught the light as she chattered about the pastries they would share at their favorite cafe. At 5 years old, she was his entire world now, the only family he had left. "Daddy, can we get the chocolate croissants today?" Emily asked, her small hand tucked safely in his. "Of course, sweetheart," Robert replied, his voice softening the way it always did when he spoke to her. "Whatever makes you happy." They were approaching the restaurant where they had their weekly breakfast tradition when Emily suddenly stopped walking. Her bright blue eyes had fixed on something across the street. A young boy, maybe 7 or 8, sat alone on the sidewalk. His dark hair was tousled and unwashed, and dirt smudged his olive-toned cheeks. He wore a worn brown jacket that had seen better days, and in his small hands he held what appeared to be a piece of bread, probably his only meal of the day. Robert noticed his daughter's silence and followed her gaze. His first instinct was to hurry past. The city was full of unfortunate situations, and he had learned long ago that you couldn't save everyone. He had his own responsibilities now, but Emily had other plans. Before Robert could react, she pulled her hand free and ran across the quiet morning street toward the boy. Robert's heart jumped as he quickly followed, his expensive leather shoes clicking against the pavement. "Emily, wait!" he called, but she had already reached the child. The boy looked up with large, dark eyes that held a mixture of wariness and hope. Up close, Robert could see that despite the dirt and worn clothes, there was something familiar about the child's features, something that made his chest tighten with an emotion he couldn't quite name. Emily knelt down to the boy's level, her small face serious and kind. "Hi," she said softly. "I'm Emily. What's your name?" The boy hesitated, then whispered, "Miguel." Robert stood behind his daughter, feeling awkward and out of place. He was about to suggest they move along when Emily did something that stopped him cold. She reached into her small purse, the little pink bag she insisted on carrying everywhere, and pulled out the $5 bill he had given her the day before for being good at the dentist. "Here," she said, holding it out to Miguel. "You can buy some real food with this." Miguel's eyes widened. I can't take your money." "It's okay," Emily said with the simple wisdom that only children possess. "My daddy says sharing is the most important thing we can do." Robert felt his throat tighten. He had said those words to her, back when he still believed them himself. The boy looked up at Robert uncertainly, as if asking permission. There was something in that gaze, something that made Robert's world shift slightly on its axis. "Take it." "Son," Robert found himself saying, his voice rougher than he intended. As Miguel reached for the money, his thin jacket sleeve rode up, revealing a small birthmark on his wrist. A distinctive mark shaped like a tiny crescent moon. Robert's blood turned to ice. He knew that birthmark. He had kissed it 1,000 times when it belonged to a baby. His baby. The son he had lost in a bitter custody battle 8 years ago. The boy he had been told he would never see again. His legs nearly gave out as the realization hit him like a physical blow. This child, this forgotten, neglected child, was his son. "Miguel," Robert whispered, his voice breaking. "Miguel Harrison?" The boy looked up sharply, hope flickering in his dark eyes. You know my name? My real name?" Emily looked back and forth between them, confusion crossing her young features. Then, with the intuitive understanding that children sometimes possess, she gasped. "Daddy," she said, her voice filled with wonder. "That's my brother." The words hit Robert like a lightning bolt. He dropped to his knees on the sidewalk, not caring about his expensive suit or the people beginning to stare. Tears streamed down his face as 8 years of grief and regret crashed over him. "Miguel," he whispered, reaching out with trembling hands. "Son, I've been looking for you." The boy stepped closer, his own eyes filling with tears. "I knew you would come," he said quietly. "I always knew." Emily, understanding in the way that pure hearts do, took both their hands in her small ones. "We're a family," she announced with absolute certainty. "All of us together." Robert pulled both children into his arms, holding them as if they might disappear. On that busy street corner, in front of strangers and traffic and the rushing world, he wept for all the lost years, and for the miracle of found love. The businessman who had thought he had everything discovered that morning that he had been living with an empty heart. But sometimes, if we're very lucky, life gives us a second chance to get it right. And sometimes, it takes the pure love of a child to show us what truly matters. As they walked toward the restaurant together, a father and his 2 children, Robert made a silent promise. Never again would success matter more than family. Never again would he let the things that truly mattered slip away. The morning sun seemed brighter as they found their table. Emily chattered excitedly about having a big brother, while Miguel quietly marveled at being wanted, being claimed, being home. And Robert Harrison, millionaire and father, learned the most valuable lesson of all: that wealth means nothing if you have no one to share it with, and that sometimes the greatest treasures are found not in boardrooms, but on the streets where love recognizes love, and family finds family no matter how long they've been apart.